In this video today, I'm about to share with you guys the top 3 winter baits that I've had success with by my fishing logs from 2011 to today, 2023. This is going to be a unique, different type of winter baits, because most of the time you hear guys talk about their baits, this bait, that bait, but guys, I actually have my data right here that I have compiled together. How I have done this, guys, is since I already had a phone that could take good pictures, I would take pictures of all my fish. Not all of them, but fish from fishing days. Also, guys, what I would do is about that time, Google Earth, it was about 2000, I guess, 9, 10, but like I'm going from 11, because that's when I had my pictures in an organized file on my computer. I do that, guys. I know y'all might think I'm crazy, but it's going to be cool in 20 years or so. But I also have Google Earth waypoints where I would have fish caught and would have the date and the lure. So I was very organized. Fishing logs. I have Word documents too. Guys, I did have a bunch of fishing logs for a couple lakes, but then I lost, in 2018-19, I lost all the data off my phone, and I didn't have my notes saved in my cloud, but I had, for like Lake Millwood, I had logs for every day. So guys, back to the top 3 winter baits. So how I categorize this for you guys is kind of by lures, right? But I would go through each year, and if there's like a lure that dominated that season of winter, right? We're doing winter. I would have it marked down, or if it caught if it caught most of the big fish that winter, it wasn't just like a fish catch, I would mark them down for each year. So we have 13 years from 11 to 23, and there were 4 baits that stood out. Okay, now there was a shift also that was pretty unique. There was a shift in a couple of the lures. But guys, let's first go into the first one. And guys, I'm going to be showing you pictures and stuff here and there from like, just to show you guys I'm not crazy. So like I do have all these pictures and trips and stuff logged up, and always just been that guy. I think it's going to be neat down the road. So guys, the first one, number 1, this dominated, or this was like, so I try to do it, and guys, you're probably waiting for the lures. I try to have at least 3 per season. It might just be 1. Like there was one year, 2012, where there was just 1 lure that dominated that winter. Numbers of fish and big fish. And if you're starting to think what might have came out about 2011, then it makes sense. So hey, let's go to the first one, and it was a jig. The jig was a part of 9 years for dominating lure for numbers and big fish out of the 13. But interesting enough, the jig has not been a part of it the last 2 years. 2021 was the last one that I have, fish catches and big fish where it beat out other lures. Okay, so the last 2 years, the jig, I caught fish on the jig. I mean, last year I made a couple videos with the jig, and I've caught fish with the jig, but it just didn't dominate the winter. Now on the jig though, most of the jigs were football jigs. Okay, I was getting the lures, football jigs. There was that time at Ouachita where guys, or I say time, like 2014 guys to 2018, it was my jig for Ouachita and lakes that I was fishing central Arkansas. Okay, then looking at the jig, 2020 it was still a factor, 2019 or 21, but those were some different lakes. I still fished Ouachita some, but not near like I did those other years. So the jig was the first one. Like I said, most times a football jig. Cover, when I was Ouachita, was grass and timber. There were trips, guys, to where we were fishing this predominantly in timber. Brush piles on some lakes, it was always still a factor, but we're going to say grass, timber, and then rock. Rock was the next one for the winter. Pretty interesting. Now, number 2. Now, this one showed up more than I remember. Now, guys, on some of this too, it might have been somebody fishing with me. Okay, it might have been not just me, because this lure here I'm about to talk about, I didn't throw it for a couple years, but people fished with me and were still throwing it and just whacking them, and then there's times I tied it on. But guys, it was the Alabama rig. The Alabama rig was 7 of the 13 years. Okay, so the Alabama rig dominated 2012. So the Alabama rig made it seen Paul Ice like October of 2011. So that was my winter in 2011. The jig and Alabama rig were the 2 lures. Then I started seeing the power of it at the end of 2011, right? And I was fishing the gray a lot. I was there living in Arkadelphia, and dude, guys, the February of 2012, the Alabama rig was like the sole lure on my deck. Okay, it caught fish everywhere. And like people that know, I know that might be watching this, or other people that are just here, dude, it dominated. It was crazy. And then A-rig was a factor in 13, 14, but some of those years, because I always talked about it, I quit throwing it after bass at time. After bass made it to where you couldn't throw it, I was just like, why would I throw it? Even though I'm not a tournament guy. But I still went back to photos, and there were a couple trips where I had it on the deck, and it caught big fish, and it caught numbers of fish. I kind of forgot about that, and I even went back on my Google Earth logs. There's a couple Ouachita trips I just forgot about. It's great, caught fish. There's a couple trips to where I didn't throw it, but the guy in the back of my boat throw it. You might see some photos of Johnny there. Johnny wore me out at times, guys. Johnny from Fish the Moment, throwing that in the back of the boat. Okay, he did. So, and then interesting, one trip that I remember, I only threw it one trip in 1 year. It was 2018. Okay, 2018 February. I threw it in one trip, and I have it starred for 2018 because it caught my biggest bass of the winter in 2018. There was one trip we threw it, and man, caught fish, big fish. I caught one close to 7 pounds. Lost another one at the boat. That was 6. If we had a net, it would have been in the boat. But we were here. I was playing with it, and the hooks were everywhere, and it got off. But guys, so like that was one trip that I threw it in that 2018 period. It's kind of crazy. Like anyway, just that. So A-rig number 2. Now number 3 was the one that was surprising to me a little bit. Surprising as the type of lure, not the type, but the different kinds I was throwing. It was a medium to deep diving crankbait. And I say medium to deep diving because, guys, in years, I'm going to put it 2013, 2014, 2016, guys, it was a 5 and 6XD most of the time. A wiggle wart, I was throwing a wiggle wart if the water temps were under 50. But, guys, I was still throwing a 5 and 6XD and that 50 to 60 degree water, that low 50, and man, it caught fish. And I forgot some of the trips that where we caught big fish with a 6XD. And I look now back to my recent winter years, I haven't thrown it in the winter. I've thrown the flat side crankbaits, okay, predominantly flat side. And I'm kind of now thinking maybe I should be throwing it. Like the water temps now, I know the other day was 48, but there's still some lakes that might be 52, 53 where I'm at. And maybe I still need to be throwing that 5XD style crankbait, not just the Strike King one. I'm talking just that kind of model, that wider bill, model. And it was just interesting that, that how that kind of, I forgot about some of those trips, okay? And so like the crankbait 2019, 2020, 2019, a flat side, caught my biggest bass that winter. It was 7 pounds. I'm trying to look. There's a couple trips where that wiggle wart, man, I've had some great trips with the wiggle wart, rock crawler style type of crankbait. And then, so that was my top 3. Jig, A-rig, crankbait. Now the next one that was right behind the crankbait, my guys that are watching know, is the lipless crankbait. The lipless crankbait is 5 of the 13 years. It showed up in 2019. So 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, and 23 it showed up. And that's because I finally learned a little bit about the lipless and where to throw it, how to do it. And it caught some of my biggest bass in some winters in 20, which one? I haven't starred here. And early 2022, it caught my biggest bass that winter. It was 7 pounds. There was another year in December, it caught one that was 6.5. Like I've caught some big fish with a lipless crankbait. And guys, and then another couple of lures that just, were there. Jerkbait, caught fish. I had more numbers with a jerkbait, like number trips, Ouachita, Hamilton, than big fish, The bladed jig was always an intriguing one because I caught like last January, it caught my biggest fish in January. Talking this year, 2023, it caught me 1 over 6 at Millwood. And there's other trips where December, January, it caught big fish as well for me, just because of the lakes I was fishing and just kind of knowing. So guys, hopefully this helps you, and it's just a different style video for winter lures, okay? I know, like I said, there's a lot of winter lures out there where, hey, let's throw this lure, that lure. I've done them. But guys, I wanted to share with you this data and kind of get more depth into it, okay? And if you like this style of video, maybe want me to do it for other seasons, months maybe. Winter's kind of, I thought doing this for the winter because it's kind of, the winter lures are kind of there now. So spring to summer kind of spreads, okay? So if you like this style of video, guys, let me know. I appreciate it. It was fun for me to go back and look and get some old memories back, man, and just kind of see the old good times. And once again, guys, I appreciate you. And hey, we'll see you on the next one.